Hey guys, welcome back to Embracing Power and Potential. I hope you all have a fabulous week, and I'm very excited to introduce this episode today. We actually had a special guest on. His name is Albert, and he is from New York City. He is an author, hypnotherapist, and he is an accountability and mindset coach specifically for actors. We had such a great conversation, and it was great to connect with another coach that, gets the inner work. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. It is a Zoom recording as we're both from each side of the world. So don't mind the quality. It may not be as good at times. But yeah, let's get into the episode. Hope you enjoy it. Welcome, listeners, to Embracing Power and Potential, your go-to podcast where we travel through the realms of personal growth, mindset mastery, and fear-conquering strategies to help achieve your greatest desires. I'm your host, Portia, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this transformative experience. If you're ready to unleash your authentic power and elevate your life, you're in the right place. Join me and our special guests as we embark on conversations that will broaden your horizons and enrich your journey. So, sit back and immerse yourself in these unmatched discussions. It's time to expand your mind and your life. Hello, Albert, and welcome to Embracing Power and Potential.
Thank you so much,
How are
Portia, for having
you?
me on here. I'm so happy. I'm great. How are you doing tonight or this morning, actually?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, morning here, night for you. So,
Yes.
before we begin, would you like to just tell
hmm
me a little bit about yourself and what you do and why we're collaborating today?
Well, so my background is I have a couple of things that I do, but my initial background is I have a doctorate in psychology, and I also am a performance mindset coach. But my specialty is working with actors and performers. So in New York, which I'm based out of, I own a talent agency, Bramante Artists, and we are a full service talent agency that represents actors for film, TV, theater, commercial, print, and voiceover. And so I've been doing that for about 21 years now. And I've also been a college professor for 22 years. I teach psychology classes. So, and I've been kind of like doing both. And I kind of blend my love for entertainment and psychology and working with actors and helping them reach their fullest potential, especially in areas of like self-sabotage.
Yeah, I love that. That is so interesting. And I really love that you incorporate psychology into your coaching with actors because that is so important, the psychology behind what they're doing and the mindset shifts that they have to make to be
Oh
coachable.
yes. hmm Yeah, and that's definitely very important is the ability to be coachable. As with any
Yeah,
you know anybody really to be successful, they have to be open and be coachable.
yes, no, exactly. Being open. I so agree with that. So, what would you say makes your clients coachable?
I would say two things: having an open mind. Well, actually, a few things. Number one is having an open mind. So that would be the big thing. The second thing is um, conscientiousness, having some sort of discipline and focus. And the third thing is it's a trait called agreeableness, which means being able to accept feedback and adapt to that feedback. So again, it's just like how well do you follow directions? And that's in my agreeableness. How willing are you to cooperate with somebody else? And that's what we refer to as agreeableness. And such a very important trait. So,
Yeah, no,
that's
I love that.
really an important.
Yeah, no, I love that. And especially when you said about, feedback, because as an actor, you have to build that long-term confidence to have that despite all the criticism and feedback that you would have, going for certain different roles, and looking at rejection as, redirection sometimes, and reframing that mindset instead of getting down at yourself and, in your self-worth, which is very important.
Mhm. Absolutely. I mean, and that's the whole thing. It's like it really boils down to your self-worth and
Yeah.
how well are you willing to do that. So the one thing that a lot of actors go through is that they're bogged down a lot with rejection, and that's a lot of things that can happen. But I like to kind of shift it and say, let's rework. I don't like that word because rejection sounds personal, and all it is that you're getting told no about that role that you're auditioning for. It has nothing to do with you personally.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I so
So
agree.
yeah. So the one thing I often say is that there's no such thing as rejection, only that your services are not needed today. So that's a simple mindset shift that you can take. Is again, there's no such thing as rejection, just a simple reminder that your services are not needed today.
Yeah, exactly. And, like that spot isn't meant for you because there's something better and a better opportunity that is made for you.
Right. And it's about just being perseverance and having that grit and that resiliency to just keep moving forward.
Yeah, no, I so agree. So we were talking about, the self-worth and the importance of self-worth with, artists and actors. So what would be some of the biggest mindset traps that you see in actors or artists fall into when it comes to their self-worth?
I would see the biggest thing is really their identity. And I think if depending on how well you define yourself and what your main thing is, like what your identity is. So like if you define yourself as a thriving or are you starving? And I think a lot of times what I see is actors taking on a starving artist or that mindset um, trap that I run to that I must suffer for my art.
Hmm.
And I see that a lot that comes in, um, that they must suffer for their art. And I don't understand that. I really don't. I don't know where that came from. I mean, it's kind of romanticized a starving artist.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
that's so
kind of,
interesting.
yeah. So I kind of feel like that's definitely something that can be a block is the idea that I must suffer for my art.
Do you think that's come from a bit of, society and, like the hustle culture and, putting blood, sweat, and tears into it? And I know that, being an actor and following whatever passion it is, you have to be dedicated and you have to put in the time and put in the energy. But do you think there's like another layer of that where it goes deeper into like the hustle culture that becomes unhealthy in a way?
Yeah, I don't, I definitely feel like it can be the hustle culture, and maybe we need to revamp that and kind of like come up with different ways of looking at things, because you can certainly look at hustle culture, meaning like, somebody who's very proactive,
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
who's very hardworking,
Exactly.
and
So there's
and that could
like
be something that you could take, but it shouldn't
diff-
be, tears yeah, and too much tears, and we should enjoy what we're doing.
yeah, no, that, yeah, I so agree with that. So when it comes down to, working with actors and everything, do you have any go-to tools that you have in your own daily practices or that you give to your clients for mental performance and focus?
Sure. Well, the one thing is visualization. So like a form, it could be like a form of meditation, depending on how you look at it. But it would just be like visualize yourself, doing the audition or performance or whatever it is you're doing, and it going well. Because what you're doing is you're training the brain. Your brain does not know the difference between reality and fiction. So you're kind of like already priming yourself to do better, to really be on top of your game. And this is good for even athletes too to visualize. And it's
I,
a little bit more powerful than these affirmations, but yeah, it's about visualizing.
I absolutely love that you touched on that because that was exactly what I was going to say as what I would use for my clients in the mindset coaching world for, the top practice would be visualization because exactly what you said, the brain doesn't know the difference between reality and the
Mhm.
imagination. So, imagining yourself feeling the feelings at the same time of, being the successful actor that your clients and these actors and creators are desiring to be, feeling into that feeling as well to rewire the brain for success.
Mhm. Well, absolutely. And that's what we're doing. I mean, it's all about like rewiring or what we can call neuroplasticity, which is, changing the brain chemistry,
Yeah.
with our thoughts and our energy and our focus. So I would say visualization would probably be the number one thing. Also, the reframes again, not taking rejection personally.
Yeah.
Also, looking at mistakes and failure as feedback. So I like to call it like failing forward.
Yes, I love that reframe.
So I mean, and those are things you can take, but also it's what's your identity. So like, I would have to look at your core identity. Because that's a big factor in your mindset is how do you define yourself? And,
Yes.
and I think again, coming from a struggling or starving mindset is different. It's different than the whole hustle culture because at least you can still consider yourself very successful, but also a hustler. But
Yeah.
it shouldn't be. That's the thing.
Yeah. And I think, there's a big difference between desiring something and feeling desperate for something, that's two totally different energies. And you want to be tapping
100.
into the feeling of, desiring and attracting things into your life, not a feeling of lack, like you don't have the things yet. And, you're desperate for these roles and for these different opportunities that, these actors are going for.
I got to tell you, Portia, that was said perfectly because that's exactly what it is. It's not coming from a place of desperation. You should be coming into this with I have everything I need. And what I often tell actors, especially, your ultimate goal to be an actor is to tell stories, is to express your creativity. So you're already doing that every day, even when you're auditioning. And another thing, at least with actors, is we want to get out of even the mindset of I have to audition. And sometimes that can be, I hear actors complain, oh, I have to do this audition. Well, first of all, you don't have to do anything. You get to do it. And if you
Yeah.
change the word have to get to, like, even somebody who wants to go work out, I have to go exercise tomorrow. No, you get to exercise tomorrow. And
I
if we,
absolutely love that you're saying this, but yes, continue.
yeah, I mean, well, and that comes from a place of positivity and, an opportunity. So I one way when we say, okay, now if you get to perform as an actor, when you have those 2 minutes or 90 seconds, 2 minutes to audition, go in that room or film that audition, the one thing to keep in mind is, well, you got that. You now here's your 90 seconds to 2 minutes to do what you love. Go for it.
Yeah.
And the outcome If you get the role, wonderful. If not, you still had your opportunity to do what you love.
Yeah.
So let's not get attached too much to the outcome, because in any profession, even personal life, desperation is never a viable thing to do or to be at.
No, I absolutely love that you said everything that you said was spot on then. And yeah, it really is about, just those reframing the mindsets from,
Mhm.
what you said about getting to do things instead of having to do things. I say that all the time, even to my clients with going to the gym or anything that you do, and these actors can look at these as not looking at it as, oh, I have to do this, because first of all you're following your passion, so you get to choose whether you want to do it or not, and looking at these as opportunities and experiences. If you don't get the role, you still had that experience, you had that experience to learn and to grow from it.
Well, absolutely, absolutely, and that's the whole thing. It's about growing from it and growing from that experience. So, and it's, again, even that mistake or that setback, you got to do it. So, and we need to be doing more of that, because this is going to get a bit heavy, but a lot of people have a lot of regrets in life, especially as they get older. And a lot of psychologists have come out and say that the biggest source of regret for people, like at the end of their life or on their deathbed, is not the mistakes they made or the foolish things they've done. The regret or the torture is the things that they didn't do, the opportunities that were there, but they were too afraid to take advantage.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I so agree with that. And with saying that also comes with, when you fail, I never look at, there is never a failure. If you've tried something, you can never fail. You can only grow from that and learn as a lesson for what to do next time. The only way that you can fail is by not doing it.
Yes, that's the only way you can fail, is just by not doing it. And even like when somebody says, "Oh, I'm afraid of all this reject," I may get told no. I'm like, but if you don't do it, it'll never happen. So why not do it and take a chance?
Yeah, exactly right. And with this, because when people are auditioning for different things and they get let down, and they have to work through that self-worth work and the inner work, is there anything that you would say that you can help your clients with on the spot for self-regulating themselves when they're going for a different position or a role?
Well, the one thing is to remain calm, and the visualization. I would say, um, just when it comes to that, like, you can do tapping. Tapping is great, like EFT, emotional freedom technique.
Yes,
Um,
tapping.
there's a lot of great tutorials on YouTube. I think that's a good thing. Um, just another thing, and I learned this from Amy Cuddy, who's a psychologist and influencer. Power poses, because what you're
Ooh,
like, you stand, even every day, like for 2 minutes, and you just take like a really strong, like, alpha pose. Your feet, feet spread out, tall, because just doing that for 2 minutes changes the neurology, even.
yes.
And it puts you in a better state, because the biggest thing when we're faced with so much, when it comes to something that's like a lot at stake, our state control is very powerful and very important to manage our emotional state and physiological state and everything. And that's so important.
Yeah, no, I so agree. And especially with that, just practicing like breath work, on the spot,
Yeah.
just sometimes 4 deep breaths in and out can change your energy so fast and really illuminate that, sorry, I lost my words then. Take away that anxiety that you're feeling right before you go out on the stage or right before you go out for that role. And posture work as well. And that's a little bit like you said, I think with the power poses is, just really focusing on
Mhm.
your posture because that brings confidence.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things. Like when we're working with somebody to improve their confidence, the first thing is to adopt the physiology of a confidence person. Standing up tall, shoulders back, upright, smile.
Yeah,
You know, in a sense, because that eventually, as the physical changes, so does the neurology. And
yes,
now your internal state is going to match your external state. So that could be the first thing is, okay, well, how do you mimic a confident person first? It's kind of like almost doing like reverse engineering. Okay, instead of doing the mindset tricks, okay, let's first adapt the physical
yes. No, I love that.
confidence, and then going into the internal now.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that so much. And I'm so glad that we touched on that. So, we had a conversation, before this with planning the topic of what we were going to say, and you mentioned about using AI with your clients. And I thought that was very interesting. So, do you
Hmm.
see AI helping creators, but without replacing their authentic voice?
I would say yes, but it has to be done in a conscious and responsible way. Um, and when I say by conscious and responsible, what I'm saying is it should never take away or replace your ideas. Your idea, you still need to give the AI its ideas. Your ideas. You still have to give it your input. You still have to give it your vision, because otherwise, what you're going to get is a very mediocre, generic thing. So what I like to do is, if I'm planning or I'm writing something or creating something, I'll already like outline it or sketch it and a rough draft myself of what I want to say, how I want to say it, who my target audience is, what I hope to get out of this, and then I'll get a much better idea, and then I'll even mention my ideas here, and then I'll ask like the AI, was it ChatGPT or Claude or even Gemini, what, how can you help me make this message stronger, or
Yes.
how can you give me even some other inspiration of things that I didn't mention here. So rather than saying, okay, here, just write me this email or write me this post, I'm giving it ideas because it should never replace. So I often like to say, I know the tool called artificial intelligence AI, but I like to look at it as amplified intelligence,
Yeah, I love
you know,
that.
rather than artificial, amplified. Somebody else, it's another creator said that, and it was like, wow, this really makes sense because it should amplify what we're doing, not replace what we're doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know some people are like, especially when AI came out in the market, like really 2.5 years ago, a lot of people were skeptical and still are to this day about, is AI going to take over our jobs? No, I don't think so. You know, at least I don't feel like it will anytime soon. However, I do feel like we have to adapt and use it to some degree,
100%.
because again, especially depending on what your industry you're in, you may be replaced by somebody who knows how to do AI, or who embraces AI. So, and I don't think it's that complicated to learn. It's just, now. What I will say though is, when I what I mentioned earlier about responsible use, I am not really comfortable with the idea of AI in therapy,
Yeah.
like of the AI therapist or the AI coach.
Yeah, because
I
that's
don't
I've seen
know.
even more. That's a lot becoming a lot more common now. I've just seen, but continue.
Yeah, and we're seeing that. people turning more and more to AI for companionship, which is also a bit of a concern.
For
Um,
sure.
because it's not obviously it's not a real person, it's a robot. That at the end of the day, and great, it's a good idea for exchanging ideas. But if we start looking at it like, okay, give me companionship or therapy, it's not set up to do that. As a matter of fact, the founder of OpenAI, Sam Altman, had said the same thing. This is not what ChatGPT is for. Like when he says like therapy or companionship.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
I definitely agree with
I,
you then.
like to think that it's great, but we have to, we do have to put brakes on our usage too. Um, Another thing that and this is like I don't know if you heard the news up here that much, but there's a controversy this week around ChatGPT.
Oh, what
Um,
was that?
there,
No, I haven't heard.
okay, well, I think I'm still learning the details, so this is gonna be fuzzy, but a teen had committed suicide,
Yeah.
and allegedly, and I say it's allegedly because it hasn't been proven yet, that ChatGPT was helping him do that
Yeah, wow.
by like telling him how to hang himself, like and all that, like you should do this. Again, I don't know. Nobody like proved the transcripts yet. That's what his parents are alleging. That it did that. There's a whole host of other things, and that I comment for all the time, and I'm not. But that's just a controversy around it, and
Yeah, wow.
again, I don't believe, and I don't think that that's a function that chatbots should be doing, or people should be using chatbots for is like those sensitive issues like
Yeah.
that. Again, it's more of an idea. It's just an idea generator.
Yeah, exactly. It should be used as like a tool for, different things like that. But that's very scary how, because there's so much open range, Chat GPT has everything on it, you can ask it anything, and there's no really limitation to where, there's a line drawn. So yeah, that's so
And
sad and unfortunate. But that's,
it
yeah,
really
this
is.
very reality of it.
This is why, again, and one of the things that I often would probably say if they ever asked me to comment would be like, where were the parents? Why weren't they monitoring this too?
Yeah.
Because I don't think, again, I don't because again the all it is doing is responding to logic. Whatever you give it, it's going to give it back. It doesn't really have the agentic role to tell you that this is a bad idea, or you know because I can turn around and say, well, I'm thinking about like going on the moon. That's the motion of the moon. It may turn around and say that's a great idea. Is it?
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's fun. I'm doing it comically, but again, it really depends on the issue. So we need to put a full. It's great again for content creation. It's great for ideas. It's great for brainstorming ideas. Like if you need to do research for a character, like with the background of a character, give you some ideas about
Yeah.
exploring a
Yeah.
character. That's great. It's great for that. Um, Maybe to if you're sending a cover letter, it can help you improve your cover letter. Don't say we shouldn't write your cover letter, but it should improve it.
Yeah. So really expanding off our own ideas that we already have, and, just
Yes,
adding an extra layer to that, but still refining it, and fine tuning it to keep it authentic and to keep it you.
it has to be you because unfortunately, and because of how widespread AI is, most people can now determine if they're looking at something that's just AI, what we call AI slop, which is just okay. Somebody puts something in ChatGPT, takes it and cuts and pastes as is.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Because
for
I was
sure.
writing a lot, even for me, like I wrote a lot of like blog articles before. ChatGPT came out. Now, if I just were cut and paste, people would know this is not Albert,
Mm-hmm.
you just
Exactly
by the way
right.
it was writing. It's going to be very dry and very like no feeling.
Yeah, there's no
Um,
like heart and soul, because as you said, it's just a robot. So you are going to get that mediocre version and not your full expression.
yeah, or you're going to get very and even when it tries to be expressive, it's like very over the top, like too many
Yeah.
adjectives. Like this doesn't sound natural. It
Yeah.
this doesn't sound natural. So what I agree. Like you need to come with your own content, and then when it gives you the content, you need to massage it and tweak it and for a while so that it's still your voice.
Yes. No, I so 100% agree with that. Yeah, I'm really glad that we touched on that because I believe that that is such an important topic now because it's so hot at the moment. Everyone's using chat gpt or some sort of ai for something, and we are seeing it now more in our content. People are sort of just slapping an ai caption in there, and it's not really them, so we're sort of losing that heart and soul. So it's very important to keep our creators authentic and only using it as as a tool along with their own
Mhm.
intuition and creative outlet.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's definitely something that really should be um, really utilized is again just balance. But it's good to use it and knowing how to use it because
Yeah.
there's a popular saying, like kind of like if it's like garbage in, garbage out. If you feed a garbage, it's gonna be garbage back out. It's gonna be slop, what they call, that AI slop. If you just give it anything, so it's definitely a good tool to have. But again, not to rely on 100%.
Yeah, we don't want to like depend on it, it's just it should just be there for a little
Hmm.
expansion every now and then, Yeah, no, I
Yes,
love that.
because we existed way before, well with it beforehand. We were fine.
Yes,
We were
exactly. Look at all this
so
creation that we've made, before this has come out, and but
yeah.
now we feel like dependent on it sometimes. Like sometimes it's just like an easier option because that's what technology is. It makes life just easier for everyone, but it takes away that heart and soul of the actual creator.
And there's a cost, to things. I mean, with anything, there's always a cost, and it is, like even with social media, sometimes it takes away the humanity side of things.
Yeah.
I was hearing an article today of a study that just came out of one of the universities in California, that social media use, especially for like millennial and Gen Z, is causing a lot of people to become more antisocial, which
Yes.
is kind of a paradox because it's called social media
I
and
know,
it's making
like
us more.
exactly right. It's wild.
Yeah.
It actually
So
disconnects people more when it's supposed to bring people together and connect people from all over the world. It actually disconnects us because we're not utilizing it properly and responsibly.
mhm, absolutely 100%. So it's just everything has to be in moderation.
Yes. No, I so agree with that. I'm so glad that we touched on the AI and everything, as well as, the actual practical tools that we can use with breath work and visualizations and the mindset shifts that are important to make. Also, just rewiring the fear of failure and, the fear of success and the deeper underlying unconscious beliefs that actors have, and really, yeah, making internal work a focus.
Hmm.
I love that
100%.
so
Yeah.
much. I'm so glad that we had this conversation. And just to wrap it all up, I just want to ask you one more question.
Sure.
So, if someone is starting on their creative journey, but in the beginning stages, they are feeling overwhelmed with everything, what would be the first mindset shift that they could make?
Start slow, but take action. Definitely take action, but start slow and focus on one thing, first, and take small steps. Because the problem is, like, when we're faced with there's something called decision fatigue. When if you have too many decisions at once or too many options, it just becomes you don't do anything.
Yes,
So,
sabotage
and-
kicks in, and
and
then
sabotage.
it becomes
So,
a loop.
oh, of course, it just becomes a moot point because it's like, okay, now I have so much, but now I'm not doing anything. So take one thing and just do it, and just do it. And one thing I like to say is when you're about to engage in something, make an action and make a commitment to it. And this is where accountability comes in. Accountability groups is great. Coaching is great for accountability because I can turn around and say, well, someday I'm going to do this or someday I'm going to do that. When? Someday is not a real date.
Yeah.
When are you going to do this? So put something on a calendar and say, like, by this date, I'm going to have this complete. By
Yeah.
this date, I'm going to have that complete. Because once we start taking action, it's kind of like a domino effect.
Yeah, and you start seeing the rewards for those actions, which makes you keep wanting to grow and to keep doing these things because you're seeing the rewards, you're seeing those opportunities come in, and that really means that you're becoming the embodiment of an actor.
Right. And or any creative type,
Yes.
or any profession. It's once you adapt that and start seeing things, then you start stepping more into that identity. And then you will start to see more success because it gets easier and easier as time goes on.
Yeah, exactly. So really it all comes down to circling back to where we started with the identity work and shifting your identity to embody that desired person that you want to be.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
I
great.
love that so much. Thank you so much for coming on to the show today. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you and getting your wisdom of, working with actors and, just connecting with another coach that taps into the visualization and really understands the inner work and the importance of it.
Right. Definitely.
So, just to finish off, would you like to just share with your audience where we can find you on any social media or how we can work with you?
Sure. Well, you can go to my website, albertbramante.com. And on the website, I have a lot of different audios and meditations you can listen to. And then you can also find me on both Instagram and LinkedIn. And Instagram, I'm an act Dr. Albert Bramante, and LinkedIn, just Albert Bramante. I'd love to connect with you. Send me a message, and yeah, I'd love to connect.
Beautiful. Thank you so, so much for your time today. I know that it's a little later there, but I hope you do have a good night and I hope that we can connect and collaborate again soon. This was really
I
great.
love that. Love that. I really would love to communicate and collaborate even in the future.
Yeah, beautiful. I can't wait. Well, thank you so much. And guys, I
Well,
hope
thank
you
you.
all enjoyed this episode. Sorry, I'll let you have your final words actually before we just end this today.
Mhm. Okay. I just again want to thank you and thank the audience for listening. And one thing I'll say, you have everything you need. All the successes within you. All the resources you need are within you. So take advantage. I want to hear all your success stories.
Yes, I love that so, so much. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening. Definitely go and check out all of Albert's socials and see if you can work with him because he's definitely an inspiration and someone that you can really learn a lot from. Thank you so much.
Ever feel like you're meant for more, but something keeps holding you back? Maybe you've read the books, set the goals, but deep down, doubt still creeps in. It's not just about working harder, It's about rewriting your mindset for success. I help ambitious young people break past limiting beliefs, step into their power, and create the life they know they are meant for. If you're ready to stop playing small and start living big, book in your free discovery call with me today. My website will be linked in the show notes, or you can find me in my Instagram bio. Embracing Power and Potential Coaching Services. A vision to empower 10,000 young people to create a life they truly desire.